Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Ann. It's day 31 of 365 days of keto. And this morning, it's Saturday morning, and it's cool out, it's snowy, and we're gonna make some good breakfast. My husband loves biscuits and gravy. It's one of the things that I'd say he probably misses more than a lot of things. So I have found a way to satisfy that craving. We talked about this on his birthday because I made this on his birthday in early in January. And I use this product called Carb Quick. It is like Bisquick. It's certainly not like my Mile High biscuits I make for realsies, but it's a pretty good substitute. So they have a recipe on here like on Bisquick for pancakes and waffles and other kinds of stuff like little, turkey pot pies. And so I take the recipe that they use for simple drop biscuits and I totally change it, which is just like me. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I make this. So this product, I don't think you can buy in the stores. I'd get it on Amazon. It's not very cheap, but it lasts a really long time because I don't use it very often. And I just leave it sealed up really good so that it doesn't, get gross. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take half of the recipe because there's only 2 of us here today, me and my husband. So I'm gonna do 1 cup of the Carb Quick, which is this right here. 1 cup. It doesn't have to be exact when you're doing this kind of cooking. And then it calls for 2/3 cup of water. So I've made this recipe just like it says, and they're not very good. So I've modified it. So that's where I'm stopping with their recipe. So I have, with all biscuits, I think more fat makes them, a nicer texture. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon of butter. And just like you would do in any other biscuit, you cut it in. So if you don't know what cutting in means, it means you take your little pastry blender like this, or 2 forks, and you kind of work it into the flour and it incorporates in all the flour. It looks kind of like cornmeal a little bit. So I add a tablespoon to 1 cup of the Carb Quick. So if you're following the recipe, sort of following, you would add 2 tablespoons if you do 2 cups. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how this cutting thing works if you're new to cutting in butter, or lard, or whatever you choose to use. So it has to be cold. It cannot be soft butter. And it actually works out better if you chop it up a little bit in advance. Instead, I just threw the whole big thing in here. So see how I'm just kind of mashing it in? It's not really mashing. You're kind of going like this, right? And then sometimes it gets stuck in there, so I just take my knife and knock it out. All right, so this is going to 100% improve the texture of these biscuits. It gives a little more fat, a little more, it's softer too. So anyway, the other thing it says on the recipe is to turn your oven to 350 degrees. Don't do that. I do 450. If I'm making real biscuits with, the self-rising flour and lard and all that, I bake them on 500 degrees. So I just went up to 450. Okay, so the other thing they say to do is to use water, and I think water tastes terrible in the biscuit. So I'm using, this is heavy cream. You can use half and half, and I don't dump it all in there because I want to see how much it really needs, because sometimes with biscuits, it depends on the humidity, and that's the truth. So if you are in a really dry climate, you might need some more liquid in this. So this is what it looks like. It's starting to kind of come together. And that's the other thing. You don't want it to be like a really sticky dough because then you've got too much liquid in there. These are little tips that I've been learning since I've been making biscuits, since I was in my grandma's kitchen when I was 40 years younger than I am now. Okay, so here it is. It's still really loose, but if you pinch it together, it starts to hold together. So I'm gonna put a little bit more cream in there. That was just 1/4 cup. I should have done about 1/3, but this little dude doesn't go to 1/3. I think it's so cute though. Okay, so I put about another tablespoon in there. So it's about 1/3 cup. So now it's almost exactly like I would want it. Okay, it's sticking together. So this is where people kind of get afraid because it looks like it won't hold together. See how it comes together like that? But trust me, if you got to get your hands dirty, so start with clean hands. All right, we don't want spreading germs. So you got to get your hands in there. And you just scoop it up and you form a ball, right? And I kind of just do the kneading right here in the bowl. It saves a mess on your counter. Whoops. Until then, I just knocked it all out. Okay, so I think I want a tiny bit more liquid, just a tiny bit. And it comes together really quick. That was just the perfect amount. It was about a teaspoon more. So there's a little bit of, even when you're using Carb Quick, I mean, you can follow the recipe and it'll be fine. I just don't think it tastes that great. I think it's kind of cardboardy and dry. I think it's very dry. So, okay, so now I'm gonna just put it out. See, I have it in a ball, okay? And I'm gonna work it together a little bit. Just to get all that fat incorporated and that cream incorporated, because it's still kind of coming together. And then the last thing I do, all right, is, and I'm not doing very many because it's just my husband and I, so we don't, one biscuit is, let me see what it says. One biscuit is 90 calories, but I added to that when I used butter and cream instead of water. And it's going to have 2 grams of carbs. So you don't want a whole bunch of biscuits. Let me grab my little rolling pin. My father-in-law made me this, which is a French rolling pin. It's really good with word working. I love it. So I'm gonna just roll it out a little bit. So see, I've completely gone against the recipe. They have drop biscuits. They're using only water. There's no butter. And I increased the heat of the oven. So the only thing I really needed them for was the ingredient. Okay, so I have it in like a circle right here. See how that is? Okay, and then you take a little, maybe I'll get a smaller one. Be right back, don't leave me. Okay, so I have a bunch of sizes. And I'm gonna do a smaller one, because I love the gravy part. So if I can put on 2 biscuits, I can put on more gravy, right? All right, so I'm gonna just push it down. Don't screw it like that because it'll rise more. If you just go straight down, pull it out, see, there it is. And then I'm gonna put it right here. I have a baking sheet right here beside me, and it has a piece of parchment on there. And parchment isn't necessary, but it does just keep your pan clean. And I always look for shortcuts on cleaning. I hate cleaning. And they look so pretty. See the little fluted edge, right? So you can make them a little bit thicker. It'll just increase the time it takes to cook them. But I like these little tiny biscuits. Like I said, I can, you can pour more gravy over them because you have more biscuits instead of one big giant biscuit. Okay. So I think I'm gonna get 2, 4, 6 little baby biscuits out of this. Maybe 7. So when you're done cutting, you're not gonna get a perfect amount. There'll be little scraps. So I just reform it like this and press it out again. You can roll it out again if you want. But I just kind of use my hands and then press out. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get 7 baby biscuits out of this. And this last one, there's always like a little orphan biscuit that's never as pretty and perfect as the rest. Like that, I'm just putting it in the center. So I'll show you what my tray looks like. See? And you can even get fancier. You can brush it with some butter, make them, look really good. Sprinkle some herb on there or whatever. So I'm gonna put it in the preheated oven. I just heard it beep. And it's gonna be in there for about, I always check at about 8 minutes and then just increase it 1 minute at a time. All right. So those are in there. Let me set my timer. Okay, so those are in there. The other thing I have going is I'm making sausage gravy. So I've browned the sausage. You see that brown stuff at the bottom? Okay, when I pour the cream in, and I will get that hot again. When I pour the cream in, I like those brown bits because that's actually a lot of flavor. There's some chefy name for that stuff stuck on the bottom of the pan. I don't remember what it is. So when you pour the cream in, it releases all that yummy, it's not burnt, it's just stuck on sausage, which gets really good flavor and makes your gravy kind of brown. So if you don't do that stuff and you just keep stirring it and never gets to stick to the bottom, you're gonna have kind of white gravy, which is why people have white gravy. They're lazy. They don't want they don't want to take the time to create that flavor and color. They're in a hurry, and gravy is kind of like a lost art anyway. Everyone just buys it at the store, or they eat out. So anyway, my grandma from the early 1970s taught me how to make biscuits and gravy. She would not approve of carb quick. She would not approve. But you know, you do what you got to do. And I really enjoy, let me pour this in. You hear that? Do you hear that sound? That is, I'll stir it, it'll release all that sticky stuff, and it's gonna be so good. So you pour that in, you stir it up, and you let it kind of come up to a boil on medium heat. And you let it just continue to boil. It's gonna reduce down. This is why you don't need to use flour to make this gravy, because cream will thicken on its own if you cook it long enough. So that's what we're gonna have. So we have, with the biscuits, did I say 2 carbs? Yeah, so 2 carbs for a biscuit, and the sausage has none. I use half and half, so the half and half has about, I think we're gonna have 3 per serving, which is about half of that. So if I ate half of that gravy, which is, I won't because it's a lot of calories, that's another 3, so that's 5, which isn't bad for biscuits and gravy. I think that's pretty darn good. And the other thing, so that I can cut back on the biscuits and gravy, I have eggs started over here. Okay, so I already have some peppers and onions in there. I'm gonna scramble up some eggs. We're just gonna have a down-home breakfast because we're kidless this morning. Yay! No, not yay. I miss my babies, but they're all having a good time. So anyway, happy Saturday. Hope you all have a great day. Happy Super Bowl tomorrow. Be good. You know what I'm going to do for Super Bowl? Because frankly, I'm not really invested in who wins. It's all about the food for me anyway. I'm going to do chicken wings. So easy stuff. Chicken wings with Frank's buffalo wing sauce on them. I'm going to do them in the air fryer. So super simple. I'm going to have some carrot sticks. I'm going to do another buffalo chicken. I'm going to do that buffalo chicken dip because I'm all about the buffalo chicken flavor. I love it. Let's see. I'll have to think of something else. Maybe something with like shrimp. Oh, mushrooms. So I could do like crab stuffed mushrooms. All very keto and super yummy. So I can make nachos. So I could do the low carb tortilla shells, the flour ones, chop them into little triangles and bake them, and then make some guacamole. So there's a lot of things you can do for the big game tomorrow. So do a little bit of planning. It's not hard to do. And if you're going to a party, take something that you know is 100% keto, and you know, you do your best, right? We do our best. So my trainer's threatening everyone in the class that he's weighing us tomorrow, just to make sure we're good. But I don't like being weighted. I weigh myself in every day. Anyway, you guys have a good Saturday. I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe we'll make one of my Super Bowl dips. I'll decide.